There we are. Welcome to the first info session for Global English Camp 2022. We are really excited. As a quick summary, this summer we did a program all online where myself, Robert, and Christy here and almost 200 other interns from around the world stayed up all night on weekends to account for Japan time zone of full days. So the Saturday, Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. in Japan for Robert and Christy was a nice, 2 a.m. to 10 a.m.? Yeah. So we did our first major online program. We had a few thousand Japanese students and almost 200 interns, and it was awesome despite the time zones, and we were really appreciative of that. And since many of you asked this question and we kind of put it in our emails, next summer we are hoping to be back in Japan as our program per usual. But of course, pending the status of COVID and travel restrictions, we may have to do it online again. But we now know from this summer that it is still a truly impactful experience. Of course, you're not in Japan, but you're still able to provide a great, unforgettable memories and a program for students in Japan over the summer. So without further ado, let's do some quick introductions. I'm Matt, the program director. Been doing this program since 2015 when it first started. There were only 10 of us in Japan and has really grown. Like I said, this summer we had I think it was about 160. And the summer before that, nearly 200. And this upcoming summer, we are looking for about 200 interns again. And I'm very, very excited every year. I wish I was traveling around visiting everyone at universities as we normally do. But alas, I cannot be. But so that's me, and I'll pass it off to Robert.
Hi, my name is Robert. I usually have a lot better lighting. I'm the head of training at Come On Out. I'm currently not where I live. I'm currently in Poland, which is not where I live. But I've made the best of the circumstances. And I originally joined in 2018, literally as just an intern. I just went to teach on the program just like everybody else. Only I had this insane idea that, hey, I'd like it if I could work on the onboarding training sometime. And now I lead it. So if you'd like a sign that you can keep being involved when you get into this crazy thing, you can. And we really love people showing initiative. At least I think that's how I got here. And I'm really excited to be here with you guys tonight. And Christy, what about you?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, as I said, my name is Christy. I first did the program in 2019, which was in person, which was one of the best, I think. I keep saying this to everyone who I share this experience with, that it was definitely the most amazing experience I've ever had in terms of being able to travel, get teaching experience, and just kind of really fully immerse myself in a completely different society. And at the time I was just an intern, and then this summer I did the program again, which was online, and as Matt said, that was very different, very challenging, but equally one of the most rewarding experiences as well. Even, it kind of challenged my perceptions of online teaching, and again, something that I'm really looking forward to. Hopefully, well, I'd rather it be in person next summer. I'm not going to jinx anything, but yeah, hopefully it'll be another amazing experience next summer.
Thank you so much, Christy. Couldn't have said it better. Yeah, we did it online, and I mentioned earlier before we started that Christy, was one of our leaders, and she and basically her co-leader led a room of about 15 interns and hundreds of students each weekend. So we had these 20 rooms spread out across, or 20 Zoom rooms with all our students. So we were really grateful for leaders like Christy that are able to manage that completely on their own and run the program. So let's get started. And like I said, for questions, for those of you who are coming in, there are slides that indicate a good time for questions. I will be checking the chat as much as I can, and Christy and Robert, but we'll try to keep those consolidated so we don't get too crazy. But hopefully we will answer everyone's questions as we go along, because there's different sections as you see here. So we've got the introduction, who we are, orientation and training, the camp itself, logistics and subsidies. I know a lot of questions that, for those of you that signed up for this session, were submitted about Money, and I've got all the questions on a little piece of paper here, and I think we should be answering all those outside of the classroom and applying. All right. What do you guys think? Video? Let's do it.
Global English Camp is a program
How's the sound?
dedicated to the importance of gaining an
Thank you.
unparalleled life opportunity via cross-cultural education. Through an intensive weekly program focused not only on language skills, but also relevant global issues, university students and recent graduates from around the world facilitate the improvement of expressing opinions in English and impact students' discovery of their individual life missions.
My favorite part is the mutual exchange of learning and ideas and cultures. It's very much a shared back and forth between the mentors and the students.
It's really inspiring to see the students grow in confidence. By the end of the camp, they started defining more of what they wanted to do and what their future goals were. They're all brave enough and willing to share their life mission with the entire class. I've heard so many stories where the students really want to study abroad or learn English better as a result of this English camp.
Above everything, there's a massive energy to everyone involved. It makes the whole week so fun.
It's really, really amazing watching how they grow and develop over just 5 days.
During the 5-week program, interns gain more than a stimulating teaching experience. They also gain new perspectives, knowledge, and friendships from this unforgettable summer program.
I think Japanese education puts much emphasis on just studying for entrance exam, but these programs help students think about their life mission through listening to interns' presentation. Our interns here have a strong life mission and desire to learn more, so students is also impacted.
Right. Thank you guys for watching. If you've already seen that on our website, thanks for watching again. If you haven't, hopefully that gave you a good idea of what the classroom experience is like. Really lots of fun, lots of games intertwined with serious discussions about global issues and confidence building. So our main purpose here is of course teaching in general, but really it's actually this summer we called our interns coaches. Christy was a leader, but we had under her team she had 15 coaches and we had 10 different teams. And that's because it's really facilitating discussion, building confidence. It's more of a mentorship, as you saw in the video, helping students find their life missions, grow as people. So not just teaching English. It's a week-long program. And when I first did this program, I said to myself, how much of an impact can I have on a student in a week, let alone their English abilities? And this is coming from someone myself who I taught a full year of junior high school world history. And at the end of the year of my teaching, I thought, I hope I've impacted these kids. I'm not sure if I did after a full year of my 200 students. But in this program, my first week, just 5 days, I realized how much of an impact I had. It was very tangible. It felt very fulfilling. And I think that's ultimately what's special about our programs. So like I said, it's 5 weeks. You will have 2 to 6 high school students within your group. You can see a picture of Robert here back in, I think, 2018, and giving a presentation to his students. And this is kind of what a classroom looks like. This is in Tokyo. You have an intern at the table with 2 to 6 students, preferably 4, and you are working in a classroom with other interns and students. It's unpaid, as many of you know from our website, and we will get into the costs. We have subsidies, so we're basically covering airfare and lodging and things like that. We will get into that later in the presentation. And then if it is online, it is a paid internship, because we don't have the subsidies we need to cover of onboarding and getting people to Japan and things like that. We just pay because you'll be working from home teaching students. So speaking of online, here is a brief screenshot of one of our teams in the last weekend of the online program. I think they all dressed up for the final final weekend. But yeah, we took our 5-day program, which you guys might have seen the schedule on the website, and made it into 2.5 days, half the amount, basically covering the same themes. But it was a massive undertaking, and thanks to leaders like Christy, it was very, very successful and very, very impactful. And so we do love that we can do our program in an online space and get that same impact, although we are very much hoping for the program to be in person, because there truly is nothing like being in person in the classroom with the students. Just a bit about us. We are actually multiple entities. So Coming Out Japan is our entity working with our Global English Camp program. We'll talk about our partners in a second. But we also have Coming Out English. We teach traditional one-on-one online lessons, kids to business professionals. And then we have our Tefl, as many of you are familiar with and have asked me questions, and we can talk about that. In short, to answer, this is one of the most common questions that we got on the form. Tefl is not required. It's not required for this program. It's not, if you're going to do a full-time teaching experience in Japan, excuse me, as an assistant language teacher, an ALT, you want to get that Tefl. Or if you want to do online teaching and get paid for it, you want to get that Tefl. For ours, it's not required. We do say that it's recommended simply because, if you get a Tefl, it shows that you're really passionate about English teaching, and you have that extra resource and training. Now we'll get into training in a bit. We do provide all the training, but that's what we mean when Tefl is encouraged. It is by no means required, and most of our interns do not have a Tefl. We also do Coming Out Adventures, which is nature experiences, hosted by our founder, Brian. So who we work with in the English camp are Toshin High School. You saw one of Toshin High School's representatives at the end of the video. They are a huge private education company in Japan, cram schools, or juku in Japan. And just to briefly say it, they're quite on the forefront of English education in Japan. So we're really fortunate to work with them. If you go to a baseball game in Tokyo, you can see an advertisement for them in left field. They're pretty well known, and they provide all the students for our programs. And then Come On Up is our partner that is sort of our cultural ambassadors. They handle the accommodation, they handle the cultural activities that you do in Japan, like Japanese lessons as well, and they're our administrative partner. And throughout the slideshow, we'll have some testimonials. Of course, we have these to show that our program's awesome. And of course, Christy and Robert can tell you that too. But we also show these, just show the variety of students we have around the world joining this program. And also, it's really important to us. We do a final report at the end of every program where not just leaders like Christy, but all of our interns submit what they think worked and what they think didn't, and we change the program every year, which maybe that's why Christy said 2019 is the best year. It's because it's the most recent, at least in person, that we did. So we're building on this year after year. It's really important to get feedback. Robert, are you here? I think you're not, but I was going to say, oh, you want to?
No, I'm here now.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. You want to take this part? It's you.
Yes, I'd love to take this part. This is me. Orientation and training. Essentially, when you first start the program, if it's like previous years, sorry, I am used to better lighting than this. There we go. Essentially, when you come to Japan, you start out with a bit of a retreat, you get to know people, but then you go to 5 days of training. And the focus of the training and any orientation, really, it's not just to make sure that you have the right skills or that you can say the right things. It's really about getting to know who you're going to be with, getting to work with the people, getting to have an amazing ringing of a bell in the background. It really adds to the impact. And that's what it's like being in Japan sometimes, you just got snapped out of things, right? But you learn about Japan, you learn about the culture, you get to meet your team. And basically, you're probably skimming the slides as I say this, but the big focus is learning to be a great coach. And as the person who basically designed the training, my focus and my commitment to you is that you don't just go into an experience, you learn a few skills that are just good for that job, and then you have a chill time. That's good too. But what we focus on is when you actually go into this program, you actually understand what is it like to be confident as a teacher? What is it like to be able to trust your students and know that you can have a great impact on them? Because there's a big difference between being able to leave an impact and knowing that you can do that. Having that kind of self-confidence and that self-esteem is really important. And often I found that a lot of trainings kind of miss that point. They give you the skills, but they don't give you the feeling that you can use them to the best of your ability when you can. So focus the onboarding. It's all about people you're with, and it's all about really getting to appreciate what you can bring to the table as a teacher. Because, hey, when you're in the program, we believe in you, and we want to make sure you feel that when you're there.
Thank you, Robert. Well said. And Robert's, doing the lighting, he actually led a part of his training was for how to look online this summer. So I think that's why he doesn't have his perfect setup.
I'm a competitive speaker. I have a ring light. I have a monitor I have a computer with 2 screens. I feel so neutered right now in this setup, but I do the best that I can. And that's what we should all do.
And yeah, as Robert said, it's very thorough training in the week. We want everyone to hone in on their different skills. And that's what make our program special, is the different backgrounds of our teacher and experiences and teaching styles provide something unique for all the students. So yeah, Robert led it this summer for our online experience, which, was a little bit different to delve into the challenges that come with that. But otherwise, this is what it looks like in person. And then actually prior to training, we have an orientation where we do some disaster training, learning about, what happens if there's an earthquake. We all meet and explore Tokyo together, hopefully get over jet lag, hopefully. Before we do training and jump into the program. And after training, we have, in the past, we have a little retreat where we go up to the mountains in near Mount Fuji called Hakone, and kind of celebrate the end of training and the beginning of camp together in nature. So yeah, any questions so far? Comments from Christy as well. If there's any questions, feel free to type in the chat. You can also use
to direct them to any one of us as well. Yes. If you're interested in a specific perspective.
And as Robert has nicely put in the slides here, you see coming up are the camp logistics and subsidies and outside the classroom. So just focus on what we've talked about so far, but maybe there's start and end dates. That would have been good for me to say at the beginning, huh? Mid-July to end of August is what we say. And the reason we're vague is because the program really doesn't get decided until a couple months prior to it beginning. And that's because the Japanese school system is still scheduling their summer break. So we have a very strict window. Actually, most schools only have 3 weeks off, but I will say that the predicted session will be July 15th to August 26th. We also break it up into 2 cohorts, A and B. So one group would start 15th of July, the next July 22nd, and one group would end August 19th, and then the next group, the 26th. So on the website, you'll see we have tentative dates, but we generally say mid-July to end of August due to that reason. So that hopefully answered how long is the camp. It's not a stupid question when I didn't say it.
Yeah, I will say that just based on my experience, although you gave some pretty robust stuff there, just in terms of, so I remember coming to Japan on the 13th of July in 2018, and I left around the 27th of August. So in terms of the program dates, the first, you were there for 1 week of training and then 4 weeks of teaching. So that's the distribution of time. And then you can stay as long as you want or come earlier if you prefer. If that's a question you might have, can I come before the program or go? Yes, you can, as long as you get transmitted to the country somehow and you remain there for the duration of the program, it's all good.
Yeah, the online this past summer was actually only 3 weekends. And so if it's online next summer, it might be 3 again, it might be 5. Last time was our first year, so it really was a guinea pig doing that big program. Christy, anything to add? We cover it. Okay, I'm nervous now because I forgot to say the length of the program in the first slide.
Don't worry, Matt. We'll add those to the next set of slides, says the slides designer.
Yeah, no, not your fault. I should have said it. But anyways, I also didn't say that these students are 90% or more high school students. So the equivalent of 10th, 11th, 12th grade for the US, UK. Yeah, sorry, I don't know. And then there's
teach anywhere from middle school to university.
Yes, sprinkled in middle school and university. Okay, we've got a question about native English speakers. You have to be native level. And how we determine that, you could send us your IELTS or any scores in your application, but we determine that essentially in the interview. So you don't need to worry about that till the interview. As long as you've got native level, that's totally fine. We advertise to schools in native English speaking countries, but we've had interns that are not native speakers. We've had plenty. You just have to produce a native level. And nationality restriction, same goes for that. All nationalities, please, are welcome. Just have the native English level. And then if you need a visa, some countries need a visa. We had a student from China, and I believe Taiwan and Hong Kong also need a visa. We work with you on a case-by-case basis. So don't worry. Most countries do not need a visa to come to Japan. We do a tourist visa, but because our program is unpaid, subsidized, but otherwise we work with you on a case-by-case basis. And I saw Imogen put year 11, 12, 13. So hopefully that answers all the native English. 1 week of training and then 4 weeks of teaching. Sorry, Ahmed, great Ben question. 1 week and 4 weeks. The total program is 5 weeks of teaching because I mentioned the cohorts are staggered. You individuals will do 1 week of training, 4 weeks of teaching. Ariel, or Ariel, either way, Ariel, sorry if I'm pronouncing wrong. Yep, it's open to recent graduates. The age ranges of our program are 18 to, people in their 30s. We have graduates, PhD students, undergrads, etc. All right, got all the questions so far. So Global English Camp, I briefly mentioned at the beginning, these are our big three things: discussing the global issues, sharing your life mission. As many of you might have seen, that's part of our application. It's very important to our program, helping students develop their life missions, how they want to contribute the world and why. And that's the culminating event. The last day of the program, they'll give a speech. And then, as Robert put as number 3 here in the slides, talk a lot and have fun. Most importantly, we want the students laughing, having a great time. That's why we do a lot of games. And we want everyone to grow together and enjoy the experience. That's super important for us. And as a generalization, a lot of Japanese students academically don't get a lot of speaking opportunities. A lot of their classes, it's slowly changing, but as a general rule, a lot of classes are writing and reading focused. So this can be very nerve-wracking for a lot of students. It's their first time speaking this much, and we want them at the end to build their confidence in expressing themselves, but also really enjoy speaking. So this is not your typical English experience for these students, which is what makes it so exciting. All right, here's the schedule. And I'm not going to go through each because this is a lot to look at, but it gives you a breakdown of sort of the atmosphere of the classroom. You've got suddenly some games, speaking exercises, then you've got the interns giving a presentation on their university, then you've got the students talking about their high school, and you delve into world issues. You can see the United Nations. We do a big module on that. This is on our website. Feel free to check it out and ask any questions. And this is constantly changing based on intern feedback on what works. The 2.5-day schedule. Actually, I believe this is not online yet, but this is what it looked like this summer when Christy, Robert, and I were staying up all night and leading the program. So it's basically our 5-day program condensed into 2.5 days. And we're actually currently working on fixing or polishing this curriculum as well. So again, we'll keep everyone updated on the online versus in-person process. So just to go through some pictures of what it looks like in the classroom and the variety of things we do. You saw in the video, there's a lot of group games, team building. If any of you are drama students, we build a lot on those games or improv games. They work great in terms of building confidence in English and making sure students have a great time. There's nothing like coming in the morning at 10 a.m. students are tired, and then we suddenly play The West Wind Blows, where people set up giant circles with chairs and everyone's running around like maniacs based on the prompts given. And then 30 minutes later, you're jumping into a serious discussion on the SDGs. But it turns out that the students' energy is up and they're ready to talk. They're having fun. So a big part of it. There we go, some more pictures. And Robert and Christy, during these, feel free to jump in. In the past, we did their first presentation on the 2020 Olympics, but unfortunately that has passed. And it's really bummer about the pandemic, just of course in general, but for these kids, we've been doing this for years, right, Robert and Christy? And then suddenly the students don't get to use their English skills to speak to the foreigners coming for the Olympics.
We had entire discussions just based around what can you do to help people when they visit Japan for the Olympics? And that's what these posters are. And as an aside about posters, there is something ridiculously talented about every Japanese student when it comes to art. But the thing is that none of them ever own up to their own skill. I saw somebody draw Shinzo Abe as Mario with a very detailed background. But when you ask them who wants to draw on the pose, they go, oh, no, not me. I'm not good at drawing. It's like, man, I worked at an art store and I look severely underqualified compared to any of these posters. And you get to hold up the poster while they present it, and it's fun. But the whole focus is on the topic of the discussions ultimately, and I think this is probably the more important part aside from my witty anecdotes. The important thing is that you are helping them speak. It doesn't matter what they say, really. What matters is that you give them that chance to feel confident in speaking another language. Because one thing is being able to know the grammar and vocabulary for a language. Another thing is actually being able to apply it. And that's entirely the point of these discussions.
Absolutely. And this being their first presentation, a lot of times they're nervous, but the second presentation, you can really see that improvement. And this is one of the options we will probably be running next summer. Entrepreneurship, you can see the fun examples there. Domination switch to turn off your annoying sibling. Microwave bento box named Mike. This kind of gives you the good atmosphere with, a good idea of what the atmosphere of the English camp is. We have serious discussions. We also have a lot of fun. And yeah, I mentioned the UN SDGs earlier. That's the second presentation they do and will be doing this summer, a big part of our program. And it's really, really, in fact, it's really inspiring and cool to see how much the students know about the SDGs. When I first did the program, I surely did not know so much, and hearing their ideas is great. It's also a great challenge for them to be able to express themselves on these challenging topics. And then of course, this is coach presentations first. We all give 2 presentations, we as mentors, we as coaches in the program. One on your university, it's kind of a icebreaker type presentation. Students want to study abroad, of course, that are attending this. And we talk about our university, whether you're attending currently or graduated. And then you talk about your own life mission. And this is really important to inspire students and perhaps help you connect with students that have similar passions and similar interests. And hopefully it can help you, and learn more about your own life mission as well. And then we have the students' life mission presentation, which is amazing, super inspiring to see the growth and just hear all these different students' life missions, what they want to do, how they want to contribute to the world. Really, really special moment and the end of the program. Christy, you have anything to add on any favorites of the week?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. This is definitely the pinnacle of what the program is to me. Just because at first it seems quite overwhelming because there's usually quite a lot of students in some rooms. You can have quite a lot of students just going through all their presentations, which can seem overwhelming at once, but usually we'll divide up and just kind of listening to not just your students, but also other students who, by the way, you're not just restricted to your table of students. You also get to co-teach or play games and stuff where you kind of get exposed to the other groups. And definitely some of those, it's really nice to kind of hear little snippets of things that they've asked you before, earlier in the week. And then you hear it kind of pop up in their speech, and it's always quite nice to hear them oh, I asked so and so about this once, and then you hear it in their speech, and it's always quite like, it's very heartwarming. It's also quite kind of like, oh, I actually really kind of help these kids really, think about their future aspirations. And it's probably say this is one of my favorite parts. And it's at the very end, so everyone kind of gets emotional. It's a very emotional time, the last day, I think.
Very well said. And yeah, exactly like Chris said, they students will often call back, and you really see this tangible impact you had and all the teachers had. And speaking of emotions, yes, we do have a closing ceremonies that often does end in emotions or tears, and that's it's just a nice reminder of how much the students enjoyed it and how much they're going to miss you. In fact, we do have to kick out the students every year because we allow it to go over a little, to take selfies and whatnot, and then we have to say, hey, we gotta go. The interns need to go relax and not be in the classroom anymore, but the students don't want to leave. And it's really really nice. This is also, I forgot to mention earlier, there's a couple questions on this in the form. No Japanese is required. In fact, no Japanese is allowed in the program. But this is the only time we allow interns, if they have Japanese skills, to share a message in Japanese, or even if you're like me and don't know much Japanese, just sharing a little message, it always surprises them, and maybe it gets all their phones out to film it and whatnot. So a really special, as Christy said, emotional last day, because you do have new students every week. I don't know if I made that clear actually earlier. Every week is a new group of students. So for example, over the course of the 4 weeks of teaching, you'll have maybe 16 to 20 students that you've taught. All right. So it looks like we do have the Q&A. Oh no, that's after this slide.
That's after this slide.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, so there are a lot of questions on cost. These are based on our 2019 subsidies. I'm saying that because things change year to year, and also we did the program online this past summer. Like I said, online was a paid experience. It was, you have training, and then you have 3 weekends of teaching, and you are paid for those 3 weekends of teaching. Typically, though, in person, it's subsidized. So we provide the round trip airfare. That's never changed over the years. There are some limitations. We want everyone, for example, to do a direct flight from their home or university to Japan and back. So sponsors want to encourage travel, our sponsors, but they want you to come to Japan earlier. I think Robert said that, or Christy said, come to Japan earlier, right?
And I'll actually just add to that, you can do differently from that, because in my case, I did a stopover in Korea before I went to Japan, and then I had to attend another program in India. Long story. The mood lighting's on. Long story. After the program, so if you do a direct, you get the standard reimbursement. If you don't, you get what's called an irregular case, which is slightly less reimbursement, but it's still a huge saving compared to planning all the trips yourself. So so if there's a question you might have around transport costs, pretty much everything will get covered if you do direct. If you do indirect because you're doing stopovers, it will vary on a case-by-case basis, but don't let that stop you from asking about it, because it is a great opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So that's it. And we do, so how it works process-wise is there's a $500 deposit. So we are buying your plane tickets, but you are sending the travel agency a $500 deposit, our partners that we work in from the plane tickets. And of that deposit, we return $400 after completion. There's a $100 onboarding fee that's new, actually, that helps cover a bunch of things that we'll talk about soon, and it's returned after completing the program. So as long as you complete the program, you don't come to Japan and leave, the safety net of getting the free flight to Japan, and don't do anything terrible, you'll just get that back right after the program ends, or within 45 days rather. And obviously with flights, just in case questions come up, we're not sure about travel restrictions right now. of course. So we will keep everyone updated on that.
I
For
would just
house,
say-
oh, go ahead, Robert.
No, Matt, you can't talk about the house. No, I would say just to give you the clear sense that we have right now, our prediction is that it is the need to open up Japan for business that will enable tourism to open up again. So so that's what we're really looking for, the flexibility for business travel to open up again. And when we see that, that's going to be a really clear indication of tourism. But overall, the trajectory is looking really favorable for travel. So that's what we're looking at right now. That's just full disclosure on how we're monitoring it so that it isn't just a broad statement.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. Yeah. And we encourage everyone to monitor as well. And let's all hope for the best. And as far as housing, obviously this could come with different implications if depending on the pandemic. But in terms of past experiences, we have a few different options. There's share housing. That's the most common. So it is what it sounds like. You have your own room and you share the amenities with others. Both interns in the program and young professionals in Japan. Occasionally we will have dorm rooms, which I'm sure as university students you're all familiar with. Homestays are very popular. If you want a homestay though, you should request to spend time in a not so big city, because Tokyo is not going to have any homestays, neither is Osaka, just because of housing space. But homestays, you're probably familiar with, but you stay with a Japanese family and for the week that you are in that area. And it's, I mean, from what I've heard, I actually haven't done it. It's really fantastic. You get taken out to all the special spots in town, maybe get your laundry done, maybe get a bento box to take to school. It's really a special experience for everyone. And then apartments, hotels, and guest houses are also utilized. We have to utilize what we can because of housing, limitations in Japan, especially in places like Tokyo. But it does vary depending on where you are. And I'm just going to say this real quick because I did not at the beginning. How you're placed in the program, this was one of the questions, is if you're accepted, you essentially put your preferences in terms of a major city: Tokyo, Yokohama, Nagoya, which is central Japan, or Kansai region, Osaka, Kyoto area. We take those preferences, we don't guarantee it, and we place it based on that. The second question we ask is, do you really want to stay in a big city the whole time? Or are you open to traveling? And so the common experiences you spend out of your 4 weeks teaching, the training is all in Tokyo, by the way, didn't say that. The 4 weeks teaching, a common experience is 2 or 3 weekends in one of those major hubs, Tokyo, Osaka, Yokohama, Nagoya, and 1 or 2 in an outside city. So maybe you'll go to Sapporo 1 week. If you're in Tokyo, we have you fly up there. If you're in Kansai region, maybe we send you down to Hiroshima 1 week and Nagasaki the next, or even we ask if people are really interested in traveling all weekend. And that means you might be starting Osaka, go to Kobe, then Nagasaki, then Fukuoka. We ask these questions to see how comfortable you are, and then we place it, but no guarantees. I think Robert has something.
Yeah, and I would just add to give my personal example of that. 2018, I started off in Tokyo, and then I went to Osaka, then I went to Nagoya, and then I came back to Tokyo again. So started west, east. I know direct cardinal directions. Started east, moved west, and then steadily worked my way back to the capital again. And then in 2019, when I returned, I was stationed predominantly in Yokohama for the first 2 weeks. Then I took a trip to Fukuoka to teach for 1 week, where I stayed at a homestay. So I was actually staying with a family. Before that was all share house. And then last week was in Tokyo. There are some things that will affect as well where you are, such as in the program in both years, I had things where things had changed and I was asked to go to a different venue. In one case, I didn't like the change, so I contested it and it worked. So don't let that
won't always work.
Yeah, it won't always work. But let me just say, we're very people focused. We like talking to people, and we're open to things. We're by no means a bureaucratic organization where you won't be heard if you say something. That's a little aside there.
That's a great thing to say. Thank you, Robert. And Christy, where'd you go, by the way, in 2019? I forgot. I know I saw you in multiple places.
I was in a different city every week of the program. The first week's in Tokyo, obviously, and then after that I was based in Kansai, so I went Hiroshima first week, Okayama Prefecture, Osaka, Yamaguchi, and then really
travel.
the whole stretch of Kansai basically, but it meant, luckily for me, one of the big benefits of doing this program is all the food you get to try. And okonomiyaki, I got to try both kinds, and like lots of different ramen. And it was I did a clean sweep of all the foods on my to eat list basically. So yeah, it's worth it.
Don't get me started on Japanese food. Let's change the
I know,
info
I cry
session
every
to
time. I know. Sorry, I won't.
I was waiting for it to be brought up. Oh my gosh. But that is one benefit of traveling, right? You get to experience all different spots. And of course, the benefit of staying in Tokyo, for example, the entire time is you get to know the city really well. So I think it's great either way. And we, like Robert said, we take everyone's requests, we look at it, we want to make sure people are happy but it is quite a process to place everyone at our 40 different venues around Japan throughout the summer. So we appreciate everyone's understanding on that too. And then speaking of transportation, yeah, we provide the reimbursement. So if in Christy's case, you're taking a Shinkansen everywhere, you're flying everywhere, we provide that for you, of course. And then we also do a weekly transportation subsidy. So like from where you're staying, maybe you take 2 trains to get to the venue that you're teaching at, we cover that expense there and back. So yeah, you don't have transportation covered over the weekend, so that's on your own. And then food as well. 2019, it was 2,300 yen or 2,300 yen per day when you're teaching. So that's about $22 US, pounds, 16, 15. I was looking at you guys to help me with the conversion.
I was getting a charger for my dying computer. But whatever you said, Matt, that's right. That's it. I believe in you.
One statement I always say is one common misconception that I had as well is that it's hard to get cheap or inexpensive rather food in Japan. That is not the case. Konbinis are amazing and actually solid quality. If you like ramen, you can get one of the best bowls of ramen you've ever had in your life for 500 yen, $5. And you can also get healthy food for decent price too. So. Someone did also ask about dietary restrictions, and we have vegetarian guides, we've had halal guides, and we work to make sure you guys know the correct phrases to use for allergies and stuff like that as well. We have a language guide we provide in the onboarding process and in training. And then, yeah, the other things, we have program activities. Somebody asked in the question about Japanese language classes. Those happen in the major cities in person 2 times a week, to be determined for 2022. Otherwise, it would be online. It's based on intern interest. So we typically get a ton of people interested in the first week and then 50% the next week, and then slowly slides away because you get busy. You want to spend your evenings, exploring the city you're in. But we do offer those in various levels. That's why we ask it on the application, just to get an idea of what kind of teachers we need. And then there's cultural activities every week. So, if you are traveling to Fukuoka, like Robert did, your team might have a specific activity to go to an onsen, a Japanese spa, hot springs. You might, in Tokyo, go to the Team Lab Museum, which is one of our popular ones, really cool interactive museum space. We have all sorts of activities throughout, and in the smaller venues, we provide a subsidy to the leader, like Christy or Robert or any staff or leader that are there, to determine the activity. And you get 2 of those provided for the summer. And then there's optional activities. Robert said we're people. I will go and walk into a classroom and say, hey, I've got 10 spots at my favorite restaurant, reservations, first 10 people, let's go. I'll show you a space I love. We have leaders that are traveling around that want to take you out. We have Japanese staff that want to show you their hometowns. We encourage this all the time, very community centric. I'll just say that. Informal or unofficial activities that are always happening, always something to do. But my one recommendation is always take a rest evening, because teaching does take a lot of energy. You got to be turned on all day, 8 hours for your students, and positive and all that energy. So definitely, that was my first mistake, is trying to explore the city constantly. Okay, what was the last thing we have here is health insurance. We have a health insurance plan. Someone asked that question in the form as well, and that covers your stay. So please, the one story we always tell, you guys are familiar, Robert and Christy, is Joe. He had a collapsed lung. It's a sudden thing. He took the train to the hospital instead of calling for an ambulance, which will be covered by your insurance. But his entire hospital stay was uncovered. He recovered, came back to teach. He came back the next year. It's a challenging experience, but that's just how I say what the health insurance can cover, those serious things. So no need to worry there. And of course, we go over how to utilize that as well in Japan. Okay, we're getting close on time already, I realize. So
yes,
questions wise, how's it going in the chat? I see you guys.
I'll answer some of the ones I've been reading. So several big ones. So one person asked about sharing your culture. The broad thing I'll say there is really it's about sharing your culture with your students. So for example, in spite of how I sound, I am not American, nor British, nor really anything. So I kind of talk about my background and everything that entails. If you have parents from different places and you grew up in a different place, share that with your students. So really, it's not about sharing the American culture, the Canadian culture, but sharing your personal culture, because it's another window into the world. It's very different from a very otherwise homogenous culture that is present in Japan. Then, scrolling down, a lot of people have been asking about how competitive the program is. I have crunched the numbers on this. I will say, speaking very, very honestly from the recruitment side, the hardest thing about working recruitment for this program is that literally we get too many good applications. And that's not me saying that because it's a nice thing to say, that's me saying it because it's hard. It's really, really difficult to get so many good applications and have to basically bring people forward, like one person over another. But what I've found is that compared to top universities, actually, the rate is approximately 12.2% admission rate if you apply for the program, which compared to considering how a lot of top universities are like 1 to 4, turns out we're several times easier to get into. But it can be a difficult process, and it's quite a lengthy process because of how we work with our partners. We have to go at their time scale, and unfortunately, this means that as much as we are raring to go pretty much all the time, the best we can do a lot of time is update you as we wait for some updates. I would say focus on, think about what impact you want to make on your students. Think about what you want to accomplish and how it contributes to your life mission. And that's a great way to really view this application process. And please be patient with us. Then question about housing. Do you get to choose? The short of it is no. But you get a lot of cool experiences. I've been placed in places very close to the venue, places very far from the venue. Of course, when I was far from the venue, I was wishing I wasn't so far from the venue. But every place is an interesting place to stay with a lot of interesting people. Generally, you will stay in a share house. You generally get a private room. In one experience, 2 years ago, I had a shared room. But the bottom line is that you don't get to choose, but we got a lot of really diverse options, which is really interesting. Competitive application process, detailed list of different places we can go to. I believe on the website, we have a picture of a map. Matt, is that right?
Yep.
Like of all the venues. Okay, yeah. That's also a lot of places.
Yeah. I think I answered the other ones in the chat too. I was trying to catch them.
See the new numbers popping up.
Melody, I forgot to get to your question. 18 is the limit when you participate in the program. So go ahead and apply. You have to be 18, at least 18, and a good standing at your university, and a native English speaker.
And deadline to apply is the 31st of December. The deadline to expect to reply, well, that's the fun part. Matt, what can we say at the moment? We communicate actively. We want to give as many updates as we can. I make no secret of my frustration that we can't give as many updates as fast as we can, but what's our current time scale?
Unfortunately, if you've applied, you've seen at the end, we did put a little further than usual at the beginning of January at the latest. That is to just cover everyone that's applying, because our team in Japan won't be formed until then, so they won't be able to do their second interviews. We do the first interview. Japan does the second. Until then, however, we do read the applications on a rolling basis. Yes. So as long as you get in the deadline, you'll be considered, but we will start reviewing from the beginning. And if we'll start interviewing and hiring and choosing great candidates, we'll start running out of space. So in the past, we used to have an application from January to March that the regular deadline. This used to be the early deadline time. But it turns out we weren't able to accept very many from a large amount of applications because we were already filling up. So number one thing I always say at the end of these sessions is apply early if you are interested.
And I will also just add, apply early, but that does not mean that it's first come, first served.
Yeah.
If you're thinking, I have to apply by tomorrow because I'll run out of spaces by next week, we look at them in batches. So what I would say to you is that if you're anxious about applying right now, really focus on making the best impact you can, because that's, speaking as somebody who's applied to jobs like many of us have, applications can be tough. So really just focus on giving yourself that time you need to make the impression that you want to make. Don't rush it, because if you are the 100th person or the 125th, that doesn't count against you. That's all. I think that's the best way to round off the part about the application process. Thank
you. Exactly, Robert. And don't wait, especially don't wait until December 31st.
Yeah, that's the really, that's like,
huge, yeah.
That is the big part. So anytime before then.
And here's, since we're running out of time, these are just some pictures. And, you know, we do run out of time because I ramble a lot because I love the program. So, but thank you for bearing with us and sticking around. Just some pictures from the many activities in the top right and middle right. That's from Hakone, our retreat I talked about. The others are from cultural activities throughout the summer. There's an onsen there. Matt,
how about this? I say next, you click next, and I'll quickly narrate these slides. Okay, look at that. You get to talk to your students. You get to learn Japanese. Whoa, look at that. Doesn't have to introduce your name. Well, look at some day trips. You get to go to the beach. That's more people at the beach, some people in nature. That's a great testimonial right there. You haven't been reading them, but if you've been supporting, you can read them. They're great. And you'll get a great experience in Japan with your students. Wow, okay, yeah, here's one classroom in Nagoya. That's in Nagoya. Next, that one's in
Osaka.
Yokohama. Next, Osaka. Okay, wow. I just made up. You're making me look bad. I'm making up a place and I sound authoritative. Yeah, Osaka. I knew that. Yeah, this is Okinawa. I can cheat because I can read.
Look at that. We got through the end.
Little takeaway there. You can see how the classrooms do fluctuate. Some are really massive. And in fact, in Tokyo, we have about 3 floors worth of classes. So some venues are really small, some are really big. And that's just a sample of some of the classes. And we've grown over the years too, right, Matt? Wow, Matt, look at that next slide, Matt. That's 2015. Look how small it is. Look at young Matthew in the upper right there. Wow, that's an interesting shade of green, 2016. Isn't that cool? That's 2017. I wasn't there, but that's the 15th floor of Tokyo. Really nice place. I was there. I'm somewhere there. Don't know where, but that's 2018. We had a great shade of teal, which has become a fixture. There's the 2 teams in 2019. All the leaders looked like they work at the Apple store. It was great.
All right, find Christy. I found her. Oh wait, you guys can't see my mouse, huh?
No, I can see you now. Yeah, that side.
Robert, nah, can't find you. Too hard.
That's fine.
But this is the cohorts we were talking about. So, oh, there you are, Robert.
Oh, there I am. Of course.
Right in the center.
Of course I would be.
And we have returning interns. Like Christy was a leader this past summer. Robert returned and then now as a staff. And this was our returning team in 2019. The different colored shirts indicate the years they've done the program. We did that for people who have returned every year. But we have, this is the heart and soul of our program. People like Christy returning and leading the program, leading the classrooms. When you're in a classroom, there's Japanese staff, but it's really you guys are in charge. The interns are in charge running this program. And if you need advice or have some help, there's people like Christy there that are great teachers and have done the program to help you. But really it is you guys in charge of your students' experience, which is really special. All right. So what difference do you want to make this year? Oh, I didn't change the picture that Robert put of me.
Why would you change the picture? That's the best one. I chose especially for you.
Apply now. We already did our apply now spiel. Let's do some final questions though, if there's some in the chat.
When's the deadline to expect a reply, which is the one that is hard to answer?
Yeah. So just of course we said early 2022. that just covers our ground, because at the end of December, we get a huge influx of applications because the deadline's coming in, and probably because it's holidays for students if you're at school and you get actual time. So if you do have time and are able to submit earlier, that is, yes, Manveer, that is, we will do the same info session. I will probably time it better.
More polished.
So if you want to come back. Yep, allergies, Christopher. Yep, we will make sure you're comfortable and have the proper phrases to use. And then at our events too, we make sure the caterers have account for that as well.
Ooh, I want to answer this next one.
Yeah.
Eric asks, will we be allowed to speak to Japanese students in Japanese? Well, one of the reasons our partner recruits from abroad universities is so that they don't speak Japanese. However, lots of us study Japanese because, well, some of us anime, some of us have non-anime reasons, like 5% of us. And at the very last day, you get the chance to stand up in front of the whole room and give a message to your students and to all students. And that's really the time where you get to speak Japanese. So we actually had one intern who literally, they studied Japanese studies. You can't say you study Japanese studies to a room of Japanese students, because then they'll start speaking to Japanese, which is not the point. So we changed it to Chinese studies, only to bust out mad Japanese skills on the last day. And it's actually hilarious. Like the way that students are so shocked and surprised when you speak Japanese. In my case, well, there's a large part of it about how you say it. So I just proudly say, Aisu kohi kudasai to fukuro kekko desu. That means iced coffee, please, and no bag. Because that's what I learned in the mornings when I wanted to go to the convenience store. So can you speak Japanese? Yes, but at the end. And you can either speak really good Japanese or my level of Japanese. And any more questions? If my boyfriend and I are both accepted as interns, would it be possible for us to be placed in the same location every week? I think that's a thing that we can accommodate. We do take notes, and this is an important thing. If you have a significant other or a close friend, we do take notes of these things, and you can even tell us after you've been accepted if it was included in the original application, because we do have control over these things. So we can generally, we have teams, and the team will more or less stay together for the entire program, unless certain small venues need a small number of people, and the rest of the team needs to go somewhere else. So that's how distribution works. And the short of it is, we can probably make that happen.
Yep, there'll be a space in onboarding when you're filling out where you're going for a request. Any other questions? Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Luna. We'll stick around for 5 minutes if people have it. And special thanks to Robert for speeding me up there at the end.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm a rambler as well, so I really have to stretch myself for this.
Yeah, Christy, you were supposed to stop us.
Sorry, I just got so absorbed into it, just into the moment.
Yes.
Where do you apply again? Where do we apply again, Matt?
I didn't send the link. Actually,
I think you did. Didn't it just get lost somewhere?
No, I sent, actually, if people are still here and you haven't filled out the attendance sheet, we're going to send an email to those who attended. I just sent it again, but here's the apply link.
Yep. comeoutjapan.com/apply. In case you remember later.
Yeah, and if you're here now, just to, it's a form. So, I mean, you probably obvious, but save your responses just in case as you're typing. All right. We'll hang around while people are heading out, and again, feel free. Thank you, Christy. That's what we should have ended it with. Can you say it out loud for the recording?
Good luck, everyone, with your applications. Hopefully we'll see you in brackets in person in summer 2022.
Thanks.